So did you ever get pregnant?
No. So let's talk about that.
No, I did not.
So as you mentioned, part of my story has brought me into a place where I am very passionate about teaching women about their bodies.
Yes.
And so I have my own infertility journey. So this was at the very, very beginning. So when I was young, I have an older sister. Like I said, she's 5 years older than me. She started her period and everything way before I did. So I was not unaware of that, like when I was ready to get to that point.
Right.
But, and my family talked about it very openly, but my dad's family was notorious. Like my grandma had horrific periods and she would just like bleed, just ridiculous, and she would be in pain all the time, but she was very fertile, so it wasn't a big deal. And then his sister's kind of the same thing. So when my sister started and she was normal like my mom, I had decided pretty right off that I was going to be the one cursed like my dad's sisters. So when I came into that phase of my life, I was almost 14. I had two of my close cousins who were younger than me, who had already started, actually three, that had already started. So, okay, again, think of, you've been in Young Women's.
Yeah.
We're taught that our purpose is to have babies.
Right.
And we know that, you know, our cycles and everything is closely tied to that. So I remember having anxiety as a 14-year-old girl that I was not going to be normal, that I was not going to have babies. I was, you know, because, and 14, like I was in my, I was still 13. I was in my 14th year, but like I was still normal.
I don't think people think that way. Like that blows my mind because like my oldest daughter, she always was very irregular. She is 100% going to shoot me for talking about this, but and we just chalked it up to overtraining because she is,
and probably very likely,
you know, an athlete, but she was having very irregular periods and it rarely happened.
Yeah.
But then, you know, we took, you know, she had to get her hormones regulated and everything, and so that she can at least have a regular period.
Yeah.
But I don't know if anyone is thinking, like, it never crossed her mind that she was like, oh, I might not be able to have kids later.
Yeah. My dad had a sister that got married later and who had been one of those sisters that struggled with her cycle.
Yeah.
And she struggled having babies.
Okay.
So I think there was also
that.
like part of that for me, kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be like my aunt.
Right.
And I'm not going to be able to have babies. And that's the worst case scenario for Mormon women because what do we if we don't have babies, right? So I kind of came into my fertility journey.
Isn't that awful that that's what you thought?
Yeah,
like,
it is.
If I can't have babies, I am of no worth.
Exactly. Which is why I'm adamant as a mother of a daughter to tell her that she has the right to say, no, I do not want to be a mother. I want to be a surgeon. I want to be a pilot. I want to be president of the United States. Whatever, you know.
But if you want to be a mom,
if you want to be a mom, beautiful,
that's
wonderful.
great.
You could do it all,
but you don't want it to be her only
it's not
role.
her only purpose.
Yes.
It's not her only identity.
Absolutely.
And that's what's really painful. So that was kind of the beginning that I started in. So when I married our husband, I had long irregular cycles. And I should say that I was not cursed with the pain, but I was cursed with never knowing like when it was going to happen. And of course,
you wouldn't know really if you were pregnant or not.
I didn't know if I was pregnant. I didn't know when I ovulated. I wasn't taught anything. I wasn't taught anything about my body. I knew about sex. I knew about those things. I knew the mechanics and everything. But I didn't understand like when a woman is fertile. I didn't understand anything. And honestly, Melissa, I talk to women now, and it's ridiculous in today's modern world how few of us know the intricacies of our bodies. I mean, do you know when you're fertile?
I do, because it is an extreme amount of discharge that comes out in my underwear. Yes,
hallelujah!
I'm like that, like you know it, like it, and it smells different.
Yeah,
it smells different. It comes. It's like you don't have that discharge come out unless you're ovulating.
Yep.
And it
but see,
is
I wasn't
dropping
taught any
out.
of that, so I didn't know any of that. So I went through this.
I wasn't
first
taught
9
that
months.
either, but just knowing
Now,
like there's something different, like after, you know, like you
So
don't,
that's the
you don't,
beginning.
yeah, you don't have that discharge, and then all of a sudden you have it. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, what else is going? Well, yeah, that makes sense.
That's the beginning
Yeah.
of our fertile windows. We have a cervical mucus that shows up. It helps.
Yeah.
It helps
It
prime
looks
things.
like, if you don't know, it looks like snot.
Yep.
Right.
Well, it shouldn't.
It does. It looks like, I think it looks like clear, like dry,
clear, healthy snot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not yellow. But
If
like
it's yellow, you need to see a doctor.
No, but like it looks like clear, like what's like
Yeah,
snot
it's
would
mucus.
dry.
It's
yeah.
cervical mucus. It's white, and then when you're really fertile, it's clear.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, but I didn't know any of those things, and it's so funny because again, so now I'm in polygamy, and you have to have babies. My sister got pregnant like immediately, and I didn't get pregnant immediately.
This is your sister's sister, or your sister
my
wife?
sister
Your
and her
sister.
and my
Okay.
sister wife. She was very fertile too.
Yeah.
And so like when I didn't get pregnant the first month, I started getting anxiety, and another month happened, and I didn't get pregnant. Another month happened, and I didn't know when to have
Yeah.
sex. I didn't know anything. So,
But were
we
you
were
not
just,
having-
and I was only half as much sex as you do as a newlywed, right? Because
Well-
he had another wife.
Well, were you every other night? Were you having sex every night, or no?
no, probably pretty much every night I was with him.
So that would be every other
Maybe,
night.
unless I was on my cycle, unless I was
Yeah, but
bleeding.
you would have had to have hit that when you're
Yeah,
ovulating,
yeah,
if you
yeah.
were, right? Like,
yeah, so it's very likely I could have miscarried
having
very
sex
early.
every other night is a lot more sex than a lot of married people
Yeah.
are having.
Yes, it's true.
I
It's
mean,
true.
realistically,
Yeah.
yes.
So I don't remember. I mean, I was with him. Like I said, I don't remember if we did every other night or every 2 nights. So I don't know. Like I didn't know anything about
But
my
either
body.
way, you had to have been hitting it when you were ovulating
Maybe.
at some point.
Yeah.
But
And
maybe you just weren't ovulating.
I could very well have not been. And that's what I've learned about women who have long irregular cycles. There is a delay in the ovulation. So it's very likely that I think I was ovulating, but I was ovulating erratically. Like, so
Okay.
I never knew when I was going to ovulate.
Yeah.
And so therefore
and
I
then
never
did
knew
you
when I was
not
going to
have
bleed.
that discharge? Well, you probably couldn't see it because your garments were white.
I actually didn't
I
wear
only-
garments. We were independents. So,
Oh, so
we
they
we didn't go through that. I didn't wear
have
garments.
it. Yeah.
But I do remember, I mean, obviously as a girl, we have discharge, right? We
Yeah.
experience that.
Yeah.
But like, I wasn't taught to look for that. I
Yeah.
didn't know that that was a sign of ovulation. I was taught to count. You
Oh,
ovulate around
okay.
day 14, so you have sex around day 14. But because I had long irregular cycles, like it was just so erratic, I didn't know.
I've never been taught that.
Really?
You were taught that? No.
Yeah, I was taught that.
No.
My mom was very regular. She had
Yeah.
a 29-day cycle. She knew if she didn't bleed on day 30 at 1 p.m., she was pregnant. Like
1
seriously,
p.m.?
this is out of her own mouth. Like she knew, like she was so regular. And I was like, why didn't I
1
get that gift?
p.m..
Anyway, but so I was this new bride and I had people coming to me. So within polygamy, within these fundamentalist circles, they have this thing that they call the law of Sarah.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
No, but I'm guessing it goes from Sarah in the Bible.
Yes.
Yes.
So the law of Sarah is that in order to have a baby, you have to give your husband a wife. So then I started having people tell me that that's probably why I wasn't getting pregnant. I was 3 months in. Like I was barely like, do you know how common it is for women to not get pregnant within the first year
Yes.
of marriage?
Yes.
Like that is very common.
Yes.
But here I had these fundamentalists telling me it's because I needed to give my husband another wife.
It's probably because you didn't get married at 14. That's the real reason.
I was an old maid at 20.
Yes, exactly. Totally joking. but no, I can't imagine how painful that was.
It
And
was hard. It was hard. And we had one woman that was like, oh, I figured out when I always had long irregular cycles too. And so I just figured out that I ovulated in this specific day and you just got to figure that out. I was like, that's not helpful at all.
No.
Like, how do I figure that out?
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to spend that much time on that because I have a whole lot more to
Yes,
share.
yes.
But he, needless to say, he died.
He died.
9 months into the marriage. There's a whole story around that I'm not prepared to talk about right now.
Okay.
But from that point, I had met my second husband's family.
How long had passed?
Actually, I had met them before my husband died. So remember I mentioned Ogden Kraut. My first husband was really close to Ogden, and so was my second husband's family.
Okay.
And so I actually met his sisters at Ogden's funeral, and we hit it off immediately. And we actually, my sister wife and my husband really liked one of his sisters, and we were kind of thinking that maybe she could be in our family.
Okay.
And they were fundamentalists.
Okay.
So we really became friends with the Sedgwicks, and then when our husband, well, I think I did meet my first husband before my husband died, but he was a friend. We weren't in that place. And then my husband died very suddenly, and the Sedgwicks were there to support us and help us out. And my sister wife actually liked Gary, my husband.
Oh, okay.
And we, like I said, we were friends. We loved each other. We wanted to be together. We wanted to stay together. So initially we were thinking.
And he was not married at the time, right?
He was not. He was divorced.
Okay, divorced.
And he was 26 years older than me.
Okay.
So he was a year older than my dad.
And he had kids.
He had 7 children from a previous marriage. And his oldest was my age.
Okay.
And his youngest was 10 years younger than me. So his wife did the 7 and 10 as well. So
Gotcha.
She's a very dutiful Mormon woman. Anyway. So let's see. So I met the Sedgwicks, Gary and I, he was in the church.
So are you and your sister wife, is it okay if I call her your sister wife? Okay. So you and your sister wife, are you guys trying to find somebody that you can both marry?
Yes.
So she liked Gary. You're thinking, I also like Gary.
She liked Gary, and she was like, I think you should like him too.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was like, okay, well, he's nice. And I liked his family, and I liked him. I mean, we had a lot of fun together.
Well, obviously, because you ended up marrying him later.
I know. And then I
love that she's the one convincing you.
But then it came out that Gary had some health issues that would keep us from possibly having children.
Oh.
And because of the situation she had with her first marriage, she was like, I'm not willing to go into that space again. So she stepped aside, and I believed in miracles. I believed that God would heal us. I had a patriarchal blessing that said I would bear a righteous posterity. So I was just like, well, I'm going forward. And I felt like God wanted me to marry him. Like, I went through the whole thing that we do. You know, we pray and we fast and we do all the things that we're taught to do to make sure we're marrying the right person.
He was not a polygamist.
No, he was not. He was a wannabe polygamist, though.
Okay.
He believed in it, and he was open to it.
So he would have loved to have married both of you.
He would have liked to have both of us.
Yes.
But anyway, so we got married, and he was a good man. We had a good marriage.
Not to interrupt, but so what would be her reason to not want to be into this because of his health issues?
Yes.
Was there health issues in her first marriage?
No, but remember I mentioned to you that her first husband refused to have children with her because she was...
Okay, so but refusing to have kids with somebody is different.
She had gone through a period where she really wanted babies, and she was refused, and so
she
was
wanted to have more. She wanted to have more.
She wanted to have more, and at that point, she had her baby, so she had the 4 kids,
and she wanted more.
Okay, and she was one of 14, so she was like, you have as many babies as possible.
When this is over, I need you to show me a picture of her.
I
have to know how this all goes together. I gotta have pictures with stories.
I don't have anything because that was the 90s, so I don't. It's
that
all
is so
paper.
True. It's a Polaroid.
I can show you her Facebook profile.
Yes, I'm just so curious.
Anyway, so. I married Gary, and I mean, he was a good man, and he was a lot of fun. He is really
the nicest guy, honestly.
We really had a good marriage. So we were married, and he had the 7 children. That was really hard. The kids, mom she had the 7 and 10. I'm thinking she probably suffered from some postpartum. And of course, in the 90s, we didn't talk about that.
No.
And
No.
And she really was one of those women that really should not have been a mom. You know, she just, or at least not a mom of 7.
Yeah.
She probably would have really thrived with her 3.
Yeah.
Or maybe, 2. But again,
to be honest, I think that there is a lot of that.
Yeah, there's a lot
I
of
don't
us.
think I was meant to be a mom of 5. I'm not saying.
No, I know.
I am not saying.
We see it at church, right? You were just talking about one of our friends who always looks just so haggard. And it's
no. Yeah, no, she looks stressed out.
and there's so many of
all
them,
the time.
right?
Yeah.
We can go in church
I did.
and
That's
we
why
can
I
see
tell
that.
you, like, I there's no way I look like I had it all together. Absolutely no
you
way.
did too. Your little family was perfect.
No, it was insane. And as I'm yelling at everybody to get in the car because my husband's already gone to church 3 hours earlier.
We're going to have a holy Sabbath, damn
we
it.
have to be there on time and everyone has to look perfect. And
it's
not
so
just do
sad.
they have to look perfect, but I have to look perfect. And you guys are all going to sit there in silence for the entire hour and 15 minutes, okay?
Okay.
Yes.
And you're the one with your huge church bag with all of your stuff to make sure the kids.
And 4-inch heels.
And you always rocked it.
And 4-inch heels. And my hair did not have a strand out of place.
No, you were beautiful.
And I was screaming in the car and I would walk in with a smile. That was me.
And you know what? That was every one of us.
Yeah.
And that was all of us.
Now I go and I drop my kids off at school and I look like I've been attacked by a flock of birds and I am completely okay with that.
This is me.
Yeah. Where are those people? I belong with those people. Yes.
Oh, yeah. So we had a good life. I mean, but at the same time, like all of my family's having babies.
But those kids are living with your husband and you, not with
half of them were.
Okay.
Most of them. So his oldest was my age. And
but the ones that were still
the young
underage.
ones, we had his 4 youngest kind of living with us here and there. They kind of went back and forth between us and mom.
How far away did the mom live?
She was
in the area, was she?
When we first got together, we were in Provo. She was in Spanish Fork, so it was really close. Yeah. And then we did kind of move out of state for a little bit because my husband was a builder, and we kind of did a little bit of that. But he actually ended up with full custody.
He wasn't going to make you live in a fifth wheel.
No.
He was going to build you a house.
We did actually do it the first year. We lived on the Navajo reservation. He was building houses in Arizona, and we lived in a motorhome. It wasn't a year. It was like 3 or 4 months, and then we rented a house.
You could do that.
But it wasn't a big deal.
long-term camping at that point. You can do that.
But I'd already lived off grid, so
you're fine.
That was amazing. But
so were you also helped raise these kids then? And how?
His youngest was 10, and he actually went to Arizona with us. And on the reservation, white kids aren't treated very well because they're the minority.
Okay.
So we actually chose to homeschool him. So I attempted to homeschool him. And so we moved down there in February of 2002. We were there until September of that same year. So within the summer, like a couple of his other kids came and stayed with us.
Were you able to fill that void of motherhood at all with his kids?
In some ways.
Okay.
I think in some ways I was more like a friend to them for the most part. But especially with the younger ones, I just really tried to just let them know that they were loved and they were valued.
Yeah.
And especially his youngest daughter, she really struggled. Like mom really loved the oldest daughter and would just kind of dote on her, and the youngest daughter,
she was the Amy in your family. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Except I was the golden child,
right?
But yeah, her mom. They have a great relationship now, but I just kind of saw some of the inconsistencies. So I made an extra point to take her shopping, and we would go get our nails done, and we would go, do the fun things.
You're trying to even the scale.
Mm-hmm. And she and I are still really good friends today. Yeah. So anyway, so we got married in 2002. I never got pregnant, and his kids started having kids. My sister was, all of my family was having kids. His brothers and sisters were having kids. And here I am, this Mormon woman, and we were in the church at that time. We were kind of in and out. of the church, but I was starting to just really, you know,
in and out of the Mormon church,
of the LDS
mainstream.
Church. We had gone back into the mainstream church. And
because that's the church he was in. Were you also actively looking for another wife?
Kind of, not really active, but we were kind of like open to the possibility.
If it came your way. Okay.
Yeah. So we moved to Northern Idaho in 2011, like I mentioned. We were fully in the church at that time. I had the opportunity to go to the temple. And I think it's good to go to the temple as a mature woman. I was in my 30s and I knew a lot. Like,
is that when you first started wearing garments then? Not until your 30s?
Yep. So I was 30, 2011. Yeah. I was the year I turned 30. And I knew a lot because I'd been exposed to a lot of the culture, so I knew a lot of what to expect.
Mormon
so I
too,
wasn't really, you know, you hear these stories, and I'm sure you experience this, where you go in there and you're like experiencing or expecting this like amazing experience, and you're almost like, oh my gosh, we are a cult.
No, I didn't, because luckily my husband actually, the night before I went in, he was like, hey, listen, I wish somebody would have had this conversation with me.
Oh, yeah.
Because just so you know, it is very, very weird. It's very strange. You're going to have doubts.
Yeah.
You're going to feel like you're in a cult. But I just want you to focus on the fact that I've gone through, I'm normal.
Yeah.
Trust me. And there's all of these other people. So he was pointing out different people that I loved, right? That also had gone through the temple, and they're normal. Also some of my friends that had been married before that had gone through the temple. And he's like, just know it is weird. It is strange, but it does make it does make sense, but it is very weird.
It is very weird.
Yeah.
And I really love the temple. I love ritual. And I've done a deep dive into like ancient culture and ancient temples. And that's one thing, as nuanced and unsure I am of the church culture today.
Yeah.
I can really lean into the thought that Joseph Smith tapped into something divine. And there's evidence of that in the Book of Mormon. There's evidence of that in those beautiful things. And those are things that I really value about our culture.
Yeah.
And I was really, really grateful that I got that opportunity. And for a long time, like I finally was on that even keel with Gary, because he had gone through the temple in the 70s when he went on his mission. So he'd had, during the first half of our marriage, like he would go to the temple without me, and I would feel that disconnect. I would feel, just left out. Like there was one time in Arizona, I took him to the Snowflake Temple, or we went to the Snowflake Temple, and I had to stay outside while he went in and did a session. And I just remember how painful that was.
Yeah.
And how just like here I wanted to share that with him, and I wasn't in a position
So
to
was
do
he
that yet.
able to go to the temple with you when you got your endowments?
Yes.
Did you have any other family member that went with
his
you?
mother. His mother was my escort.
So that would be nice, because I had an escort assigned to me. So I
Yeah.
didn't have anybody.
Oh.
So it was extra strange for me because I didn't have anyone there comforting me. And so I think that's maybe why my husband wanted to kind of tell me about it.
Yeah.
And he did tell a lot of the things that you're not really supposed to talk about, because I think he wanted to prepare
they need
me
to be talked about.
I do. I think,
especially right before you go in.
I feel like it made my experience better, because I can't imagine if he didn't tell me those things prior to me going in. I wouldn't say that I wouldn't have walked out.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
Because that's my personality. But but because he had explained to me what was going to happen, even like the oil and anointings.
Yeah.
That is a very strange thing. And if you're not prepared for that could be very
It could be traumatizing.
very
to some.
traumatizing for somebody, especially someone that had been date raped. So, right?
Oh
do you know what I
goodness.
mean?
Yes.
Like, but there's a lot of things to
Wow.
where I'm like, I really needed to be prepared. And, but I can't imagine, because there's so many that have to go
They
in.
don't.
Yeah.
And there's so many women that I hear of, they're just like, I feel like I've been lied to, like I was not prepared for this.
Yeah.
And I say women because those are the stories that I hear, but I'm
I almost
sure
feel like there
both.
needs to be some sort of like maybe like a class, because it's, if it's going to happen, you're going to go through. Why can't you learn about what it is, even down to the outfits that you're supposed to wear,
and
like
explain what they represent, because there's so much
or
symbolism.
which shoulder, because
that we
I was
don't-
like, wait, right shoulder, left
like,
shoulder.
let's practice this.
I honestly, the whole time, I'm like, my anxiety was through the roof because there's just so much, so fast.
Yes.
Right.
And I went to a live ceremony the first time too, so it was a completely different situation.
No,
Yeah,
I couldn't even do that. No.
But my mother-in-law is an angel. I used to tease my husband all the time that I married him for his mom.
Oh.
And she had been a temple worker, and so she was my escort. So that makes me really sad that you didn't even like have Brandon's mom or anybody there to just hold your hand.
Yeah, why didn't she volunteer?
Yeah,
why didn't she
I
do?
don't know. And I really feel strong
might
about
ask her
this.
that. That was kind of shitty. Now that I think about it, I'm like, why didn't she?
Yeah, I don't know.
mean, because
Maybe
she
didn't feel like it was her place. I don't know.
She wasn't there for right. You don't have to be there for Brandon.
Yeah.
But he was in there.
She couldn't be there for Brandon.
Weren't you in there? Were you in when I went through the temple to get my downs for the first time? You were there, right? Didn't I meet you in the celestial room? Oh yeah, he had to pull, that's right.
That's part of the ceiling.
But I mean, that's what 20 some years ago.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I know there's a lot of details.
That
Mine's a little
stuff.
bit fresher. It was only 2011.
I can't remember it.
And you were getting married. I mean, let's face it. Like, there's a lot of things that you're thinking about.
No, it's a lot. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm surprised I didn't have a freaking a panic attack. I should have.
Yeah.
But luckily Brandon did prepare me for that.
We were talking about me not being able to have babies. So let's just jump into that. So yeah, we had been married 13 years and I still was not having babies. His kids were having babies. My brothers and sisters were having babies. His brothers and sisters were having babies. Of course, I'm still in this fundamentalist Mormon mindset that that's my worth.
Right.
And so I did go back to school. I was a massage therapist and I was working and I was doing these other things. And I went to massage therapy school so I could still be a mama, right?
Okay, right.
I didn't go to school to be a teacher like I wanted to when I was young.
Yeah.
And, but
You were wanting to do something that was going to be flexible.
yeah,
as a
because
mom.
that's what I was
Right,
taught. That's what
right.
my purpose was. And anyway, so when 13 years into our marriage, the opportunity came up for us to be able to adopt, and she was family, and so we did adopt her, and it was beautiful. She's my little angel,
Aww.
and but I was starting to feel guilty because I wasn't feeling satisfied. I wasn't feeling like that was enough. I still wanted to have a baby. And my husband, like I said, had male factor infertility. So it wasn't me, other than the fact that I never knew when I was going to bleed.
Right.
And I was still kind of in that place. Like nobody was giving me any information. And so I just still didn't know how to manage all of that. But anyway, so finally, I actually had an experience. I had a friend. I was telling her how I was feeling this unsettling. I was very unsettled. I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know. It was making me feel a little bit resentful towards my husband because he was the reason why we weren't having babies. And I was feeling guilty because I had this beautiful gift of a daughter.
Right.
She should be enough, right? And she was like, I was kind of in a similar situation when I was your age. She was an older woman. And she said, I had a friend offer to do like a releasing ceremony for me. She was one of my yoga friends. And so she wasn't Mormon. She wasn't LDS. But I was like, and I'm totally into that kind of stuff. I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it.
What's a
It
releasing
was just
ceremony?
some kind of like, it was a meditation. And it was just kind of your nervous system, you just kind of calm everything down and you just basically give yourself permission to let go, because we're so wound up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she did this ceremony with me, and that's all it was. She just guided me through some meditation. She was like, okay, now take all of this, all of your pain, all of your disappointment, everything, and just put it at the foot of the divine. And so, of course, in my mind, I'm seeing Jesus, right? So I'm putting all of this at Jesus's feet. And in my mind, like, I had this vision that this woman stepped out from behind Jesus, and she was holding a baby, and she was giving me this baby.
Yeah.
And she was this woman, I've come to believe that it was Mary, the mother, because she was wearing blue. She was a little bit older. I don't know what to do with that, but that's kind of, I really love Mary now. I mean, I've really kind of looked into her story, and I've always just, I mean, she's just such a beautiful archetype of womanhood.
She's Jesus's mother.
She's Jesus's mother, right? She birthed the divine into existence. But anyway,
she's a big deal.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. She's huge. She's wonderful. But so I was like, what the hell? Yeah. I was like, I came here to let go of this. Like, why am I experiencing this? And so I talked to her about it later, and she's like, I think it's pretty obvious that you're not supposed to let go of that. Like, there's something there for you.
Yeah.
So it was at that point we decided to actively pursue in vitro again. And we had kind of looked at it before, but it felt like we were being stonewalled. Like, we would go to a doctor in Boise, and we had a doctor down there. She was like, I can take you as a patient, but I can't take your husband. And I was like, but he's the one with the male factor infertility. Like, who do we work with? And she was like, well, you would have to work with a urologist. And I was like, do you have a urologist that you work with? No, I don't have. And I was just like, it felt like I was being discriminated against. Like, she just didn't want to work with me. I don't know what it was. Like, it felt, I don't know. I've come to accept, so this was before we had our daughter. I come to believe that it's because it wasn't time. And I was supposed to have our daughter. Like, for some reason, she was supposed to come to me the way she did. And if I had been having babies actively, that wouldn't have been a possibility.
Because this adoption happened after going and talking to all those specialists.
Yeah, with that, I kind of backed up a little bit. So this was before all of that. But so after I'd had this ceremony and this experience with my friend, I went full hog back into it, trying to figure out how to do in vitro on a budget because we're poor, right? We can't afford to spend $70,000 on in vitro treatments, and insurance doesn't cover that stuff because it's elective and and I mean, you're really privileged.
It's a maybe that it's going to work.
Exactly. So I had gone to a specialist in Spokane. He told us that it was going to be like $20,000. And I was like, maybe. And then a friend of mine at church actually told me about another lady in our area who had been successful going to Prague.
Okay.
And it was a lot less expensive. Yeah. And so I was like, hell yeah, who doesn't want to go to Prague?
Yes, exactly. I have a friend from there. It's beautiful.
I know. It's gorgeous. I've been there several times now.
Her daughter's actually in medical school in Prague. Yeah, she chose to go there instead of here.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Okay,
yeah. Anyway, but so we went ahead and we had some experiences like in the temple. We felt like this was what we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
And so I contacted the agencies there and I started the ball rolling. We went in 2019. We were successful. I got pregnant. Yay. And it was like, Melissa, it was like heaven was finally opening up, right? Finally, these blessings are being fulfilled. And I just felt like, yes.
Did you know you were pregnant before you left? Came home?
No, I came home and I took the test.
Okay.
But it was like a clear, HCG was just strong. There was no question. And
what was that experience like?
Oh my gosh. It was just like I said, just like, finally, God is, I believe in miracles, right?
Yes.
Finally, this is being fulfilled, But then, unfortunately, 11 weeks in, I miscarried.
That's pretty far along.
I was almost through my first trimester. Yeah.
That's pretty far along.
That was pretty devastating. I think it was more devastating in a lot of ways for my husband. Like, he took it really hard. And
why do you think that was?
I think because, I talk about how hard it was for me, but I think for him, the fact that he was the reason, like there was a lot of, he wanted that for us so badly. And the fact that he couldn't do that, you know, that's the man's role. That's the man's job, you know, and to watch me go through the pain too was really hard for him. So we did it again in October of that year. Nothing. I didn't get pregnant again. I guess I should also say that first time we ended up with 6 embryos. So they put 2 in. I had 4 more. So I went again in October of 2019, but then 2020 happened.
Okay.
And I couldn't go at all the whole year of 2020 because no one was going anywhere.
Right.
So, and that was the last year of my 30s. I was like, damn you, COVID.
Dang it.
Anyway, so I went again.
30's not that old. You can still have babies in your 30s.
I know,
did.
But I was 39. I was like, oh, but you know, and my eggs, of course, were from when I was 37, so it was fine. But anyway,
is that how that works? It doesn't really matter how old you are. It matters the age of your eggs.
It does. I mean, it does matter, like your uterus and how things are working. So in 2020, I gave myself permission. Was it that year? I think I started working with a fertility coach and I started learning a little bit more about fertility, because what's really interesting is even though I was working with these doctors, they weren't telling me anything. They were bypassing things. They were having me take birth control so I could plan things. And I've come to learn that, you know, like birth control can cause your uterus to be slippery and it could cause a lot of other problems. And I had never been on birth control before because I never needed to. Yeah. So like I was having a lot of like breakthrough bleeding. They didn't talk to me about nutrition. They didn't talk to my husband about nutrition. Like it was nothing. They were just like, it's okay. We're going to just find that one healthy sperm and whatever. Like there was no prep work. So I started doing a little bit more of a deep dive, and I finally did go again in 2021. So 2021. And
to Prague
to use up my last 2 embryos. But again, it didn't take. And it was just like so frustrating because like I said, we'd had these spiritual manifestations. Right. My husband had dreams about our son and just like all of this. It was just so frustrating. And then of course, like during all of this, my relationship with the church is shifting too.
Why?
Like I started learning about church history a little bit more than I knew, you know, more than the approved. Started learning about Joseph Smith and him taking these wives, these, you know, the power dynamics that were happening, and it felt really icky and really uncomfortable. And
the young wives, right?
Mm-hmm. And women who already had husbands too. It felt very like King David, right? Like, oh, I'm going to send him off on a mission and I'm going to take you.
Right.
You know, like,
right. And then he would excommunicate them, right? The husbands when they would come back.
Always. Like Zina Huntington, her husband was always in well standing.
Okay.
But she was his wife, even though she was still married to her husband. And then after Joseph Smith died, Brigham Young took her and was like, you're not worthy. And there was no, as far as I've seen, I'm not seeing any reason why this man wasn't worthy of her. So, I mean, that's really, really uncomfortable. And I was pro polygamy. Right. I was pro all of this because I was taught that's the way God lived. I was taught that we had multiple heavenly mothers, like all of this.
You just didn't like that he was taking wives that were already married.
Yeah, it started there were just so many things. And just finding a lot of the inconsistencies, learning about... Just starting to recognize. I think when we get into our 40s too, we start recognizing how the lives we lived were really the life of our culture more. I think we start recognizing we're like, wait a second, you know, it's our second half of life. Like, is this really what I want? Is this really working for me?
Right.
And, you know, I mean, we worked together, and how hard it was to be that woman who didn't have babies. Actually, I think when we worked together, I had my daughter. But it's still just that whole dynamic of all of these women at church having babies, fulfilling the measure of their creation, doing all the things they're supposed to. And here I'm constantly being denied it, constantly. And people just not understanding it. People saying stupid things, you know. And
you felt like people were rude to you, or not understanding.
I had an individual at church, and he's a member of our family, who came up to me actually when I was pregnant and told me, he congratulated me, and in the same breath told me he didn't agree with the fact that we did in vitro in order to get pregnant.
What?
Yeah.
Is that against a church rule or something?
No, it isn't. It isn't. But he is so orthodox that he decided that we had basically taken, I don't know, God's power into our own hands. I don't know. Like, if we were meant to have children, we were supposed to just do it the old-fashioned way. What? I don't know. Like, and it was in the middle of the church building. Melissa, I was right there, like in the hallway.
Did you slap him?
No, I wanted to. I was like floored. I was like, did you really just say that to me?
Also, what?
I know. I was like, what the
The
hell?
nerve.
I
like,
know.
What? And who do you think you are? And how is any of this your business?
I was just like, I've thought of a couple after the fact. Like,
yes.
who do you think you are? Just like you were saying. Like,
seriously.
Why do you even think you have any right to weigh in?
Give me his address. I will TP. I will TP his house.
But, you know, these are things that it's in the underbelly of the culture, right? Little things like this that just cause women so much pain. And it's not just women, but we're women, right? This is our lived experience. Right. We can't speak for our men.
No.
Because we don't have that experience. And the cognitive dissonance has just gotten so hard and so rough. So the last, my husband passed away in June of this year. And so the last few years of our life together, I loved him. He was a good man. I considered him my best friend. But by the end, there were parts of myself I couldn't show him. I couldn't share with him. I couldn't share with him some of these pains because I was listening to feminists. I was listening to people that weren't pro-church, weren't pro-prophet, weren't pro-Joseph Smith. And the thing is actually most of the people I listen to are. Yeah. But because they're being critical, right? They're like we were talking about earlier, that we need to be able to be critical. We need to be able to think critically. And I'm not saying negative. Like, it's not like we need to be able to pull it apart, but in a sense we do, right?
Yeah.
We need to be able to dissect it and really see what the truth is and be willing and able to make those choices
free
for ourselves.
agency.
Oh my God, yeah.
Interesting. Yes. No, I get what you're saying 100%. Like, we should be able to question those things. We should be able to make those decisions for ourselves and not be penalized for it.
Exactly. And our culture is so strong in I know. I mean, we get up every first Sunday. I know. Mm-hmm. And if somebody got up there and said, I don't know, but I hope, or I doubt, I mean, they would be just like, oh, you need to pray more. Oh, you need to read your scriptures more. Right. Oh, you need to go to the temple more. Oh, you've got some secret sin then if you don't know, know. And it's just like there's so much there that it's so hard because we want to be authentic, right? Yeah. We want to be real. We want to be able to show up to church half ready and for people to just open their arms and say, "My God, Melissa,
like, it's okay.
I love you.
Yeah,
thank you
it's
for
okay.
being here.
Yes.
Yeah, your kids are a mess and you're a little bit of a mess, but thank you for being here.
I'm glad that you're here. I wish I had more of that.
Without that drive to be perfect, it's just exhausting.
Same thing with your house.
Yeah.
I mean, that was exhausting to just always feel like everything had to be put in place because if my house was perfect and my kids were perfect, then I must be living the gospel. Yeah. I have all of the blessings. Look at how much God has blessed me.
Yeah, that's prosperity gospel.
Yes. Yep. Look at what I look like after having 5 kids.
Yeah, look at me.
I am more blessed than you who doesn't look like this. Like, how terrible is that
it's just
to
so
even
sad.
think like that? And like, where do we get that? I didn't do that to myself.
No.
I've never felt
And
that
it's
way.
not even theological. Like
No.
it's not part of our doctrine. And
No.
honestly, I've looked at this quite a bit, that Western culture, we've pulled in the evangelicals and all of that. There's this prosperity gospel that's really big, that if you're righteous, God is going to bless you. Mm-hmm. And what's actually really interesting is in our sacred text, in the Book of Mormon, it shows actually just the opposite, right?
Right.
Because the people that were getting rich and wealthy and started, causing the division, they were the unrighteous.
Right.
But then you also have the flip side of that. So I want to talk about that too, because
Yes.
my dad was on the flip side of that, like anti-rich. Like,
Okay.
I don't want to be rich because they are...
Yeah.
They're full of pride and they're
Yes.
this and that. So
They're worldly.
we're going to live
Yeah.
in this hovel and barely make it. And, and we're so proud because we're poor and we're righteous.
But then you look at the prophet and you look at the apostles,
and they're all wearing their Armani suits.
There is not one of them that is not successful in their
successful.
career. Not one.
Yep.
You do not see bishops that are poor, that are barely skimping by.
Yep.
You do not see that.
Yep. They call them. Anyway, so yeah, it got really tough. I remember one of the last Relief Society lessons I went through, I just came out in tears. I couldn't do it anymore.
Because
Just all of it, just the glorifying of motherhood and not holding space for people that have different experiences. And I understand, I love them, and I understand that that's their experience and it's working for them, but it's really painful for
it's
people.
insensitive. I
Yeah.
felt like that with, if you remember, and she wasn't able to
Oh yeah.
even get married, right? And I remember giving a talk on Mother's Day and thinking about her and thinking about how painful this must be for her on this day. And you can say 1,000 times, you know what, you're a mother to all these other kids. I mean, no.
That is so not helpful.
It's not helpful. Like, seriously. And I remember saying that just because you are not able to be a mom doesn't mean you can not still be a mom to all of these other kids within the church. You can mother all of them. You can help guide all of them. That's how you can be a mother. That's bullshit.
I mean,
and not helpful.
I guess there's a level, like, yeah, that's kind of nice that we're still part of a community. We're still part of a village, but our very theology says that that's our purpose, right? So it's
100%,
still,
yeah.
like, I mean, I guess it can bring maybe a level of comfort, but it never did for me.
So did you ever find out why it was that you weren't able to get pregnant on your own?
No, I did finally, after that last loss, I gave myself permission to take a year off, and I really, really took a deep dive and started learning about fertility. I actually started working with my mentor. Her name is Lisa Hendrickson-Jacks. She actually has her own podcast. It's called Fertility Friday. That's how I found her.
Okay.
And she is amazing. She started teaching me about all of the intricacies of the menstrual cycle and how to know when we're fertile, how to know if we've ovulated, how to know if our luteal phase is long enough for embryos to even implant, how to know how to nourish yourself to make sure that you have everything. But then we'd also look at the flip side, and we'd look at the sperm and be like, okay, is he healthy? Because there's a huge thing. And I think who was it?
Flinders? Yes.
He brought this up about how we have lower testosterone that's showing up in our men, right?
Right.
And what's fascinating about it is the CDC, instead of acknowledging it, they've lowered the standards.
Right.
So instead of an optimal man having 50 million sperm per ejaculation, it's 15 million sperm per ejaculation.
Yes.
And you start learning about the woman's body and how our bodies are designed to get rid of the unhealthy sperm. So if the majority of his sperm is unhealthy, then our body's going to work against it. And anyway,
so do you think that had anything to do with it because both of your partners were both older?
I think that if I had been with my first husband longer, I probably would have eventually gotten pregnant. I've discovered since, and I had doctors kind of hem and haw around this, that I might be on the PCOS spectrum.
I have a friend that has that.
Yep. And so PCOS stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome. And what it basically comes down to is there's a delay in ovulation. And I mean, there's so many different nuances. I call it a spectrum because there are different ways that it shows up, and they're starting to learn this more and more. But basically where I've landed is in my follicular phase, there's a delay. So I wasn't always ovulating, and those would be when I would have the long cycles. And so when I'm saying a long cycle, I'm not saying I'm bleeding for that time. I'm having between day 1 and day 1, there was like 60 days. Like it was just, I never knew when I was supposed to bleed. And working with Lisa and learning all of these things now, I've come to a point where I have a 30-day cycle every month, and I ovulate every month. I have a 12-day luteal phase. I mean, I know all of these things. So my passion now is to teach women how to do this for themselves. And one thing I love about this is it's a superpower because we can use this information to advocate for ourselves. So we can go to the doctor and be like, doctor, my luteal phase is short. That means my progesterone is low. I need support in this. And whether that's HRT, that's going to be your own individual choice. I have reservations about that just because I feel like that's a little bit of a crutch. I feel like our first resort should be try to support the woman's body in making her own progesterone. But what's happening today is we're so depleted
because of our food, our
so
diet.
Depleted that women don't have time to take the time it takes. So, I mean, I'm very grateful we have the HRTs, we have the estradiol and the progesterones for women to take to help bring that back up as she's balancing her body out. But the problem is I don't see the medical fields helping them balance.
No, they don't, because like you said, the levels have changed. So now that women have a lower progesterone, now the normal range is lower than it used to be. Yep. And so
so you're coming in with low ranges and they're telling you you're normal.
Right, exactly. But if you went to someone like Dr. Flinders, he's like, oh, no, absolutely not. 30 years ago, this was the level. That's what I'm going off of because it's changed. And so let's go ahead and give you progesterone.
And Dr. Flinders and doctors like him are so valuable because they're willing to kind of look at the fringe science.
But other doctors do not like them.
No, they don't.
They do not like them. They don't like it at all.
No, they don't.
He's basically treated like a cowboy, like a rogue doctor. Really, honestly, just they don't like him. I witnessed him get into an argument with another doctor at an event that we went to, and I was just like, does that happen to you all the time? And he's like, oh yeah, no, they do not. They do not like me. They don't. And which is crazy because you've seen him. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Like the nicest
guy. He's got a lot of great information, and it's obvious he's helping a lot of people.
He is helping a lot of people, but unfortunately he can't help that many because he only has so much time, and he has a career already, and so it's really difficult for him to be able to help more. And I also have friends that go to other wellness doctors or nurse practitioners or are also able to do that, and they'll go and put them on an estrogen patch. Yeah. And it's like, no, that's not what they needed. They needed progesterone and it's harmed them, and they've gained weight, and
now they're at risk of cancer, and now they're at risk of all these other things.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's really difficult because you don't know who to trust, right? In a way, like it's hard. It's very difficult.
And that's one thing I love about my training is it's taught me how to advocate for myself. It's taught me how to know what is healthy and what isn't. Yeah. And even progesterone, like I read a study that progesterone, if it's given like with women that are miscarrying, that it can actually stop you from miscarrying.
I didn't know that.
I mean, that's saving lives too. If we could just tap into that, it's just really frustrating.
When it also, it is a huge part of your metabolism too, and that's why we have so many people that are overweight in our country. And like even, I mean, I'm on progesterone. I swear it increases my metabolism.
It does. That's what
does.
progesterone does naturally. That's how we confirm that you've ovulated is your temperature rises.
Yes. But I can also feel it more now. Like when I am ovulating, now that I'm on the progesterone, I can feel that cramping in a way. Like I can feel that inside my body that I couldn't feel before. Like it's almost like it's more intense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe it's just because your follicles are stronger and it's just something that you've never experienced before. I don't know.
Could be. But but I do have a friend that had PCOS and she's only been able to get pregnant twice and she's in her 30s. She's been married and obviously sexually active for a long time. And she's only been able to get pregnant twice, and both of those ended in a miscarriage.
Oh, poor thing.
And unfortunately, she'll never be able to have kids. And she's like you, like just would be the best mom, like the one that has all the patience, all of those things. And she's the one that will pick London up from the bus stop if I can't. And she's just so good to all of these kids. And she's not able to be a mom. And it's just so hard. It's so sad. And I feel for her because it came so easy for me and I'm a freaking mess. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't seem fair. And she was told that her PCOS came from her being on birth control for so long because
that's very common.
And that's why Dr. Flinders does not like birth control. And if you are to use something that has the least amount of hormones or no hormones at all, because I'm getting to the point where with my daughter, I'm like, we're going to have to put her on something. She's in college. So just to be safe. And he only recommended the IUD, the copper, because it doesn't have any.
And that can cause problems though, too.
Any hormones. And so it's very, very difficult to figure out what to do for women's health.
We should have a conversation. I mean, because fertility awareness is it's 98% effective against as a birth control.
Is it really?
It is. And it's all natural.
How?
I mean, it does take, you have to be on top of it. You have to follow the rules. And, but
So how are you able to be a mentor? What do you do?
So what I do is I work with women for about 3 to 4 months, and we just start charting their cycles. We start looking at all of their fertility parameters. We start looking at their foundations of health, and we just, whatever her goal is. I mean, I've worked with women that their husbands have had vasectomies. They're not even worried about it, but they're aging and they want to age gracefully and they want to know what to do.
Yeah.
I've worked with women who are actively trying to avoid, because I have one, she's a busy mom, has 3 little kids, and her husband's adamant that they don't want more, but she's had some adverse reactions to IUDs and whatever.
Yeah.
And so she's learning how to use it for birth control. And of course, I fell into it for trying to conceive because it can also teach you how to optimally conceive.
Interesting.
So there's it's something I'm really, really passionate about. It's really fascinating because fertility awareness actually comes from the Catholic Church. Like a lot of our information comes from the Catholics because they're so anti-birth control.
Right.
But did you know that?
Are they allowed to use that as birth control then?
Yes.
Okay.
And they actively we talked about like how it would have been nice to have like these pre-temple conversations, right?
Yes.
They have like pre-marriage conversations. They teach the women how to chart their cycles and how to do these things. They lean into a fertility awareness method called Marquette, which leans, at least that's the current, most of my friends who are Catholic, they use this, and they use luteinizing hormone strips, so like ovulation tests, and they use different scientific tools. So they're not just leaning into, my method is a mucus and basal body temperature method. So mine's not as fancy, but I can help you use some of the other fancy tools too. But it's just really fascinating because to me, I feel like the Catholics are like our counter culture, or our cousin, right?
Yeah.
Because they're also the only true church.
Yeah.
But then they also believe in big families, and they also, but they have all of these beautiful supports to help their women, to be able to achieve those in natural, healthy ways. So
I didn't know that.
And I just think it's really sad that we don't have a marriage prep. We don't talk about
Or
those
why
things.
aren't we teaching that in school?
Yeah,
In
yeah.
health education
Exactly.
classes. Why is that not happening?
I mean, the only thing I was taught in school was how to not show that I was on my period and don't smell and don't.
Oh, yeah. No, I was taught what all the STDs are, and they show you
that too.
they show you all the disgusting pictures, and they scare you, and they say don't have sex. Abstinence is the best
only
option, but here's some condoms and let's teach you how to use them.
Exactly. It's just so sad. And my daughter's she's in 5th grade this year, and I'm looking, I hope they let me come sit because I want to see what they're teaching them.
Actually, you should, or even see if you're able to share that information to, especially when they're around 12 years old or so. It seems like that's about when girls kind of have their cycles. I know some are very young. I think I had a friend that had it in like 3rd or 4th grade, which seems young.
My daughter has a friend that started at 9. So it is. And there is kind of something we talk about the men having a depletion and I guess there is something showing up that girls are starting younger, but it really isn't that drastic. I mean,
not yet.
The 9-year-olds are still kind of the outliers. Like that's not super common.
Okay. I didn't know if it had something to do with like the hormones that we have.
Yeah. I think it's a combination of everything.
I
think it's just our environment, everything.
Yeah. I know it's very, very sad. So what about girls that are not able to have a regular period? Is that something that you can also help with?
Yeah. Because I helped myself. I went from never knowing when I was going to bleed to I have a regular cycle every 30 days.
How do you do that?
I did it with nutrition.
Okay.
I did it with charting my cycle and just being aware of what was going on. I learned how to really fully support myself in my follicular phase because that's where my delay was.
So is the nutrition also have to do with any sort of like vitamin supplements or is it
Yeah, we can do supplement, but I lean into the Weston Price Foundation and the Ancestral Foods.
What is that?
So it's more just going back to the way our grandparents ate and our ancestors ate and getting the proteins and the fats and the really healthy, all of the good things,
Yeah.
And I can work with vegetarians and vegans. It's a little bit harder because, they can't access some of those nutrients that we only get from animal products, but it's possible.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I do lean into it, and I have some tricks. I have a website. It's called wisdomtreeholistic.com, and they can go on there and I can give you the link and everything.
And it's spelled normal.
Wisdomtreeholistic.com.
Okay.
And I have an ebook on there that shares my 3 favorite fertility hacks. And then I have a free intro to fertility awareness where we just talk about all of that. And you talk about the young girls. Like I would love, that's one of the things I've kind of gotten into it a little bit. I had my daughter and a couple of her friends come and we did like a little bit of a period party and we talked about, their bodies, but we didn't talk about it like we do at school where it's like, fear and shame and hide this. It was more about let's learn about our bodies and how powerful they are and how to tune into how when we are in our first half of our cycle, estrogen is high and we are a powerhouse and we are strong. And then when progesterone comes in, that's our nurturing phase. And we need to learn how to just cycle through that and let mom know that I'm feeling a little vulnerable because I'm 2 days away from my cycle or just whatever, like just having those conversations and instead of demonizing the body, being like, you're a beautiful, wonderfully made.
I love that.
You are created in the image of the divine feminine.
Yes. I love that.
So anyway, there was one more thing I wanted to share with your listeners.
Please do.
So I do also have my podcast as well, Embracing Sacred Cycles. And a large part of the reason why I started the podcast was because I yearned to hear the story of other Mormon women because our culture is so different and so nuanced. Like there's so much more and I just was not hearing it. So I have episodes on there where I interview LDS women that struggled with fertility in all different lights, male factor infertility, endometriosis, PCOS, all of it. But then I also, because I'm passionate about some of the beautiful expansive theology that comes out of Mormonism, like the fact that we believe that we come from divine parents, that we have not only a heavenly father, but we have a heavenly mother, that we have a mother who has breasts and has a cervix and has a clitoris and like we are beautiful and wonderful, right? And I just love all that. And so one of my topics, I guess, of my episodes is I like to dive into some of our expansive theology and really, pull it out. And one of the ones that I've been the most excited about is I learned about this concept of a sevenfold woman.
What does that mean? Sevenfold woman. Okay.
It's so exciting. So in our culture, and also any biblical culture that reads the book of Isaiah, there's a scripture in there, and we have it in the Book of Mormon. It's Isaiah 4, and it's a scripture about a woman or a group of women, 7 women, who will hold on to one man and say, I will keep my name. I will provide my own bread. I will this and that. Just, you just marry me and take away my reproach. And if you read the chapter 3 before that, it's very apocalyptic. Obviously, there's something that's happened. There's a lot of chaos. And in chapter 3, there's a passage where the people in the village are asking this man to be their leader because he has clothing. And he's like, I can't be your leader. Like, I don't have clothing. Like, I don't know what and it's just really interesting. So what I started learning about the 7 women, and when 7 shows up in the scriptures, it doesn't necessarily mean 7 individual people. It's usually referencing a completeness, a wholeness. So if we can spin that scripture that to me in polygamy was used to justify why we live polygamy, right?
Okay.
If we can use that scripture as a sevenfold woman, she's coming in and she's saying, I'm a powerful woman. Clothing in the scriptures, I'm kind of jumping around a little bit here because I actually have a whole episode on it.
No, I'm glad.
But clothing in the scriptures is also very tied to temple ordinance. If you think about what we experience in the temple, we are given clothing. We're given specific clothing that leads to priesthood power. She's saying, I have my own clothing. I will provide my own bread. Who is the bread?
Is that Christ?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. She has access to the divine. She's telling him, I don't need you to provide this for me. But I recognize that I need you. I need the masculine. I need this partnership of the masculine and the feminine to come together in order for me to completely find my wholeness. And in the scriptures, a lot of times take away my reproach is connected with children because that's, Rachel says it, Sarah says it. I think Elizabeth said it, all of these women in the Bible that struggled with fertility. But another beautiful thing about it is children are not the only product of marriage, right?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful product of marriage, but it's the connection that you have with your husband, with your partner. So that's one element of it is instead of her being this woman who needs the man to swoop in and save her, she's actually calling him out and saying, look, I already have these things. I'm already connected with the divine. I'm already plugged in. Are you going to come up and meet me so that we can be something powerful together?
Interesting.
Doesn't that give you chills?
A little, yeah.
To me, I'm like, if I had been taught that in young women,
yes.
like,
yes, I agree. Yes. Yeah. It gives you a little bit different of a self-worth.
Yeah. It's just showing us that we have that potential to become just like our heavenly parents. And it's giving us a little bit of that role model. So as much as I struggle with our culture and I don't know where I'm going to land, I don't know if I'm going to go back to church. Honestly, I haven't been back since my husband passed. But
and that's okay. Like,
and
everyone does things in their own time.
To not right now. Like, I need to breathe. I don't know if I can handle being a widow,
right?
Who struggled with fertility in our culture. You know, like I've already dealt with all of that. It's just so I'm giving myself a chance to breathe. But little things like this make me excited because it's changing the narrative for us as women. It's changing the narrative for our daughters, your girls, teaching them that they can be just as powerful as their male counterparts and that they can help balance our world. it's just so exciting. And so I do have an episode that goes into that and talks about Isaiah 3 and Isaiah 4. I'm not going to get into Isaiah 3. That's the sticky one where girls are being demonized.
Do you know the name of the episode in case someone's looking for it?
I think I just call it the sevenfold woman.
Okay.
I'll give you a link to it that you can look at.
Okay.
So, and on my website, I actually have a whole page where they can go in and look at the different episodes that I've had too.
Oh, that's so nice.
So if fertility isn't really their thing, but they want to look at some of the more expansive theology and different ways of just viewing ourselves and the divine. And
I love that. And I love that perspective. And I do feel like there has been such a long history of relying on our husbands so much when we should be okay with relying on ourselves.
Yes.
And knowing that we have it all. Like we have it all on our own and we don't have to be moms. We don't even have to be wives if we don't want to. If you want to share your life with somebody, great, but it shouldn't define us as women.
No. It shouldn't. And that's one thing I do teach in my fertility awareness class is just you can be a mother if that's great. But if that doesn't work for you, or if you're like me and it hasn't shown up for you, you can still be a creator. You still have that powerful seed of the creatrix, of our heavenly parents, of God, whatever you want to call it, source.
Yes.
It's still there within us, and we can create businesses. We can create podcasts.
Yes.
We can create, books. We can be powerful. And it's so much more than having babies.
I love that.
So much more. And I'm just so excited to see my daughter grow up. I'm excited to see your girls
I
grow
know.
up in
Same.
this, where they're being told that they can choose.
I just want them to know, and really all young women to know, that they can be whatever that they want. They don't have to stay at home and raise kids.
Yes.
If they don't want to do that, they don't have to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really, really difficult thing to have that mindset and be in the Mormon church.
Yes.
I just had a meeting the other day with a guy, and he said, you can do that. You can still raise your kids and have a job. And I was like, no, you can't. Maybe you can do it once all of your kids are in school. And that's why most Mormon women are teachers or massage therapists, so you can make your own schedule. But you cannot be the same as a man. You can't.
Yeah.
You do have to put your life on hold and have children, and we're not equal.
We aren't biologically equal, and even outside of the church culture, like our Western culture doesn't really hold space for that either. Like how many women can just defer scholarships and defer opportunities because of pregnancies, or I just listened to something the other day about a lawyer who had to give up her job because they weren't providing space for her to be able to nurse or to pump while she was in the workspace, and there's so many things. I mean, we won't even get into like the invisible labor of women, right? That is not even acknowledged.
Right.
And that's, it's a pandemic in our culture. Like
it needs to change.
We need to shift it.
There needs to be awareness in order to make that change. And that's what I was trying to tell this Mormon guy that I was talking to the other day. I was like, I feel like there needs to be awareness. That's why I'm speaking out. That's why I'm talking about this, because the church is changing.
Yeah.
It is changing.
It is.
And I want to be part of it. I'm not saying I don't ever want to come back, but I don't want to go right now when it's in the condition that it is right now.
That's hard.
And that should be okay. And honestly, I shouldn't be excommunicated because I'm not ready right now.
Yeah.
And it should be okay for me to question these things. It should be okay for me to tell my daughter that she can be whatever she wants, and I can be whatever I want. I can have questions.
And you can still fulfill the measure of your creation.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Is there anything else that you want to share about your journey or?
No, I just hope that this gives women hope that things are shifting. And like you said, the church is shifting. And even the very fact that in 2019, we no longer covenant to follow our husbands, but we follow the Lord.
Are you talking about in the temple?
In
They
the
changed
temple.
those words.
Huge.
Yes. Those same brethren that I was talking to the other night, they had said, the temple covenants have not changed. And I was like,
yes, they have.
Yes, they have.
Yes.
A lot. I don't know where have you been, but it is changing and it has changed.
It is.
And did you know that like just single ear piercing, all of those things are taken out now?
Oh.
Well,
Well, good, because I have 3 piercings.
Yes, I know. Like basically the whole thing with like your standard dress is not in the Strength of Youth pamphlet anymore.
Well, and I love the fact that the young women's values, well, I guess we don't have the values anymore, but the theme says that we are daughters of heavenly parents. And that's another thing I'm very passionate about is pulling her back into the forefront. And I recognize that a large part of the reason why the church has such discomfort there is it's the polygamy. It's because Heavenly Mother traditionally has been tied to polygamy. And because we have this ghost of eternal polygamy that is still here. I mean, our prophet who just passed away, Nelson, he is eternally a polygamist. He is sealed to 2 women. Same with Dallin H. Oaks. I mean, he is sealed to 2 women. And so we have this theology still within, and I don't know how that's going to land. I mean, it's really tricky. It's really tricky to navigate that. And until we can come to terms with our polygamous background and our history, I just don't know if the mother will ever come forth. That and just the fact that we have these gender roles.
So because you got sealed to your husband in the temple, so if you went to get remarried to a Mormon, could you get married in the temple?
I could get married in the temple, but I couldn't be sealed to him.
You can't be sealed to him.
So I don't even know. I guess they could do like a time.
Husbands can have more than one wife, but a wife can't have more than one husband. Even in after death.
And I've seen so many women just suffer from that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you hear these tragic stories of women whose husbands die in car accidents or war when they're young brides, and then they can't find another worthy Mormon man.
What happens if they aren't sealed together and then they're young and they have more kids?
Well, I mean, theologically, those children belong to her first husband. And that's hard, coming in as a second husband and not realizing that, I mean, there's a lot of...
Yes.
I mean, I have a niece whose husband died of a brain tumor when she left her with 4 young children. And her second husband, he wasn't sure. He almost walked away because of that very reason, that they couldn't be sealed. What's really interesting, though, and I think this is going to change, Melissa, this is another thing I think that's on the rise.
I hope so.
Is because right now we can, so if I was to die, my daughter could come and seal me to my second husband. Or
what?
Yeah. If both of us are dead,
okay,
then I can be sealed to more than one man.
Wow.
But I mean,
this blows my mind.
Why do we put so much more emphasis on the dead than the living?
Yeah.
What is it that Christ said about the dead?
Well, that's not comforting. And then what if your daughter isn't Mormon?
Yeah. What if she doesn't do the work for me?
Yeah,
right?
she doesn't do it for you. I mean, that just seems very unfair.
It is. And I don't know what to do with it.
I understand why you have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I understand. And I think that there's a lot of people that have a lot of questions also. And what did Brandon say that the new prophet came out and said about questioning?
Questioning oh my goodness.
The leaders. Like questioning leaders is not allowed.
Yeah.
And that is crazy to think that you are not allowed to have questions.
Isn't that how our culture started?
Yeah.
With a question?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the model we're given, right? Yeah. If any of you lack wisdom, let them ask of God. It doesn't say go to the prophet. It doesn't say
you're not allowed. Yeah, but you're not allowed to. Yeah.
So
I mean, I did the same thing. I really struggled with a lot of things, and I went to God and I asked God, and my answer was different than what was being taught at church. Not everything, and that's the thing. It's not like I don't believe in everything, but because I have certain questions, I'm not allowed to have those questions, and that doesn't seem fair. It doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't.
And that's why you have people like you and me that aren't sure if we'll ever go back.
Yeah.
Right.
But it is changing, and I'm hopeful that it continues to change. And I even the part about like being excommunicated, I'm like, I just don't feel like Jesus would ever kick anybody out of his church. I definitely can't believe that he would do it just for speaking publicly or for having questions.
Well, and I guess that just really comes to, what do you believe? Do you believe that you have that personal relationship with Christ, and does that supersede a man?
Yeah, it does.
You know?
Yeah. It absolutely does.
We do not believe in leaning into the arm of flesh, right? That's our doctrine.
Right. But we're required to. Well, let's leave it there, shall we?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining me, Amy.
Thank you. This was so much fun.
So much fun. I'm glad I got to see you again. And let's not let it be that many years in between now and seeing you the next time.
Yes. I want to join your book club.
Oh my gosh. It's so good. You should. It's fun.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Blamers. That's another shot of truth with no chaser. If you made it this far, I love you for it. If you're offended, it's probably because it hit home. Make sure you hit follow so you don't miss the next episode. Share this one with your friends, your ex, your therapist, whoever needs to hear it. And tag me at Blame It on Mel so I can see who's taking the blame with me. Until next time, keep it real, keep it raw, and if all else fails, just blame Mel.